Okay, hi there. Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to Facebook Live. And today is Thursday, the 24th of September. It's hard to imagine we're almost in October. It's hard to imagine because most of us haven't left March. And hope everyone's doing well. The numbers are hanging in there everywhere, so it's kind of I think the key is to hang in there. Hopefully, over the next few months, we'll get some. Good news, the Pfizer vaccine is due to report the end of October. Johnson & Johnson, which has a single dose vaccine, just entered phase 3, which will probably be the end of the year. Moderna is probably going to be in the late October to November timeframe. AstraZeneca in the US, it's on hold right now. In Europe, it's still going on. So hopefully one of those vaccines will do the trick. But again, I think all of us recognize that there's no vaccine that's going to be a polio vaccine of 100%. And also, until people are willing to take the vaccine, I don't want to get into politics, but one of the problems with making the vaccine so political is people are going to be afraid, or they're going to be a little bit fuzzy. Are they taking a vaccine that's safe, or it's just safe because for political reasons? We're taking the flu vaccine. Hopkins, we started the flu vaccine, I think this week, and we're all going to get the flu vaccine. And, there's always risk with any vaccine, but no one is really thinking there's anything dangerous about it per se, and there's no politics in the regular flu vaccine. But unfortunately, the politics has really come into the COVID vaccine. But hopefully, cooler heads will prevail, and we'll get a good vaccine, and people will take it, and we'll try to get back to some way from normal. And let's see, Lydiana's in Lake Tahoe. Oh, I'd love to be in Lake Tahoe. I ran many meetings at Caesars in Lake Tahoe. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. And this time of year must be spectacular. And John Biacchino's from Mace Chapel. That sounds nice, but that's only in Timonium, about 12 miles from Hopkins. And greetings from the Red Lobster. He was taking a big risk. Maybe he's getting takeout. So I had this talk is about Zoom, and are you zoomed out yet? So, I realize as I sit here talking to the count, you realize that we are probably all zoomed out, because I realize that most of the time on Zoom you get the same feedback you get from talking to the count. And every once in a while the count maybe actually seems like he's paying more attention. I think when you look at it, the problem with Zoom, I think Zoom is great. It's been great, been very helpful. I are doing lectures on Zoom. Today I'm speaking at 5:30 or 5:45 in Vancouver, and I'm speaking at 7 o'clock in Washington. And next weekend I'm doing a course in Las Vegas. From ESI. Of course, we'll be remote. We're not going to be in Las Vegas. I tried to get an upgrade for my room in Las Vegas, but of course, it's my room at home, so that's not going to help any. But, people do talk about how the fact that a lot's going to change because of the pandemic, which is true. Now, I got a feeling that people will, although some Zoom stuff will stay around, I got a feeling people will die to go to meetings, that the last thing anybody wants to do, although convenient and although it has certain advantages, we'll be doing Zoom meetings. Now, I think the challenge with Zoom really is just doesn't have the feel. I think when you do CME courses, you with people, the lectures count, but the interaction counts more. There's no side conversations in Zoom. Now, we did a Zoom last week with Patrick Collison, the CEO of Stripe. He was in San Francisco. I was here. All the people watching were, for the most part, in Baltimore. That was great. I mean, he was a terrific speaker, wonderful, wonderful talk. But it wasn't the same thing as getting to have lunch with Patrick, or getting to have dinner, having him meet people, chit-chatting for 5 or 6 hours. But it was good. There's no doubt it was the best we could do now in this era where we can't get around. You got to take what you can get. But it's still not what people really like. I've been on Zoom. I just had our lab meeting, which, okay, everyone's home, so we met there. I had 2 other conference calls on Zoom. I have the 2 lectures tonight, and I have something like 3 other lectures between now and 4 o'clock, or 3 other meetings rather. Now it's true, it's efficient because I don't have to move out of this chair. You can get chair sores. You can just sit here all day long Zooming, and we've gotten better at it. We can remember the passwords and how to get in, and we can do the webinars, and you don't get Zoom bombed like you were doing in the beginning because there's more security with Zoom, which they didn't have before. And whether you're using something else, Microsoft Teams, which a lot of people are using, which has certain advantages, or WebEx, or whatever else you want to use, it's the same process. It's you meeting with people remotely, but the problem is, I know that most people have a picture up there. They're probably sitting there snoring when they're watching you. Like, what is this with the picture? Or people have a background. Okay, you're at home. No. I'm at Waikiki. I got surfing behind me. I'm an astronaut. There's planets behind me. Give it a break. I don't want to see those backgrounds. I mean, look at this great background I have here. That's a picture. Let me see if I can do it right. Oh, there we go. There's a picture that Max drew, and right next to that is Elmo and Forky. And I put that there last week, so I want to see if people pick that up. But you know, the background is what the background is, but I just think that it's relatively difficult and it's relatively painful. So, and I can get comments like, look, B. Mudge. B is alive and well in Owings Mills. Hey, B. And Laura Wood from Greensboro, North Carolina, and you, Scott, getting takeout in Baltimore, I guess. And but I think, and you says they're using Microsoft Teams, and we're using Teams here as well. Zoom seems to be what a lot of people use only because, well, you can see the numbers on Zoom. It's also fairly easy to use. The Microsoft Teams is fairly easy as well, and Hopkins also is pushing more to Teams at the same time doing a lot of Zoom. So I think whatever you're comfortable works really well. But again, I think it's going to get back to the point about the human touch. I think it's going to be one of the challenges. It'll be interesting if COVID ever ends, which is a question. What will people actually do? Zoom has the convenience of you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to move out of your chair. You don't got to move across the hospital to a different place. You don't got to go to Las Vegas. You don't got to go to New York. You don't got to go anywhere. So, you get on 5 minutes before, you give your talk. But, it's kind of a little bit, it just isn't what it is. So, like next week, I'm speaking at this meeting, and to make things run smoothly, you record all the talks. Now, I recorded it last night, so the talk is the same talk I would have given. I would have adjusted it on the airplane, of course. And everyone's done the same thing, so everyone's talk's a week old. That part's good, and it'll be efficient. You go, every speaker upon speaker, a little bit of Q&A. But it's not the same thing as seeing the people who I know who are on the panel, who are on the course, or speaking to the attendees, or speaking to the people running the meeting. Just that human interaction, that ability to really deal with people is something you don't have. And I think, Larry David would be the only person to say that, the COVID thing is great for him because he hates people, he hates to go out to dinner, he hates to see people, and he hates to talk to people. Well, to him, this is like a dream come true, but I'm sure he simply says that tongue-in-cheek and in character, of course. I think the being Larry David, who I really like, is not maybe all it's cut out to be. When I speak to friends, I was speaking to Brooke Jeffrey from Stanford the other day, and him making the same point that reading from home is just boring. Even though you're reading the same cases that you would have read at work, but when you're reading from home in and by yourself, it just isn't very exciting. Yes, you can do Teams or you can do Zoom and go over the cases with the fellows or the residents, but it's not the same thing as sitting next to and just pointing or schmoozing. I think what really dies out is a lot of the conversations that just happen spontaneously. I think you can schedule a meeting, and yes, people are more available because they can go from meeting to meeting without moving 30 inches, but it's that interaction that it's impossible to reproduce. When you look at great companies like Pixar or Apple or Google, one of the reasons they gave free food or minimally cost food is because they wanted everyone to eat in the same cafeteria. There's no going out for lunch or bringing stuff in. Everyone eats in the same place because then and there's no reserved seats. So now you're sitting next to people you may not know. They may work in a different division. And then you're talking, and the interaction of what happens can lead to good ideas. I think one of the things with great companies is the interaction that people have is really critical, and you can't measure that and you can't contain that. You can't have 20 people going into a Zoom hangout. Let's all hang out. It just doesn't seem like you want to be hanging out with those people, and it just doesn't seem like it works really well. I think, that's the thing, because it's not that privacy. I think when you go to a get-together, there's a combination of public and private. When you do it on a Zoom, everything is public, and you just don't have the feel about things. And I think that becomes very, very important. So let's see who else. So, and there's John saying hi to B, that we miss you, and indeed that is the case. And then we have Henderson calling in from Caesar Henderson calling in from Peru. Hope things are well in Peru. Yep, hallway concerts, cafeteria consults. I think it's that interaction. I don't think people really appreciated it. I think we all knew that was very good, but I think the Zoom thing just really destroys that. We do Pancreatic Conference. We do the same number of patients, but it does seem slow. We're doing the right thing. We go over the cases. I show the cases. The medical oncologist speaks, the surgical oncologist speaks, the radiation therapist speaks. We do the right things for the patient, but you're talking to them on telemedicine. The studies are done elsewhere, so they're not as good as they would be. But you are going over the patients in a methodical fashion, which all in of itself is fine. But, from an academic perspective, if someone doesn't say, well, I think a really good idea. This case reminds me of these 3 other cases, and maybe we should look why these 4 patients all responded well, or these 4 patients didn't respond well, yet you would have predicted they should. So it's these little side conversations, it's these little bits of humanity, I think, that get blown away. I think the biggest problem with COVID, besides the fact that we're all inside for the most part, or minimizing our travel, as at Lydiana's in Lake Tahoe, those California people, you can't stop them. But I think it's the problem of spontaneity. It's the importance of humanity. I think people have not realized as much about humanity and family and stuff like that. I think, when you're looking at people looking at jobs now, we're trying to hire anyone looking for a job, come see me. But I think a challenge for us is people are going where they have family. So they're not, maybe go to Baltimore and take a look around, see what it is. There's no looking around, you can't travel. And it's hard to go to a strange place that you don't know anything about and move and uproot your family. And then, but people say, well, if your family is in Baltimore, that's wonderful. But let's say your family is in North Dakota, or the Carolinas, or Florida, or California, or Texas. You want to move where your family is, because as long as COVID goes on, there's no traveling. And so, like my grandchildren are in New York now. Fortunately, they're back in school having a great time, but that means I can't see them because I'm not a risk to them, they're a risk to me. So that becomes very, very important. And I think people really have come to realize the importance of social interaction and family. And again, you may not like all your family, but some of them you do like. And in times like this, I think you realize the importance of being around family. I think people have retired because this just kind of was, okay, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want this. And I want to stay closer to other people. So it's a challenge. So I'm going to be one of the people who says that when this goes away, the Zoom will not go away, but it's going to go way back, probably back where it started from. I just I'm going to have a hard time with people saying this is the way to go. Now, I've heard from other people that many of their faculty love being at home. Getting them back in the hospital in the future will be almost impossible. Again, you can read from home. Teleradiology companies have made a lot of money and provide good service doing teleradiology. So I'm not saying that's bad, but teleradiology can be okay for reading films and getting good interpretations to referring docs. But sitting at home, I don't care if you have teams. I don't care what you have. You ain't doing the teaching like you typically would be. You're not doing the consultation like you typically will be. And you're not engaged like you would be here. Now, it's funny, I was speaking to a few editors, I won't mention names, of a couple of journals, who told me that the number of papers they got over the last 5 months have doubled. I think part of that was people were home, they wrote papers because they weren't working hard. I think going forward, the numbers are coming back down to normal and probably will go down because a lot of new work is not going to be there. Now, of course, unless you're writing COVID articles, I had to give a talk, so I had to look this up yesterday, literally so I know the right answer. If you look at 12/31/2019, that's 8 months ago, the last day of the 2019 year, you type in COVID-19 or COVID, you get 0 articles. If you typed it in on the 21st, so 2 days ago, you got 59,634. 59,000. And that's in PubMed. How many articles are not in PubMed? Surely all the computer articles and a lot of the basic science articles are not in PubMed. A lot of them are preprints. And a lot of things are in press that aren't even listed. So 60,000 articles, you probably need to double that, over 100,000 articles. Is there anything left? Is anyone writing anything else? Now, I have to admit, all the articles seem the same. And now they're coming out with articles, long-term consequences of COVID. I reviewed a couple of these and I thought the articles were okay, but to me, I had a problem because how is 2 months follow-up being long-term? If you want to say 2 months follow-up, I'm willing to go for that. But long-term, it's like the vaccine. You may know short-term if there are any side effects. Long-term, we're going to have to take that chance probably, because until you have long-term, you don't know. You don't know, something could be good for a year and then it's not good. Excuse me, it's not good a year later. So it is somewhat challenging in that regard. So let's see, if anyone has any questions, this is probably a good time to ask them because I'm at 17 minutes. Hey B, I'll say hello to B. B, what's happening? So B retired like a month ago. So I'm sure if she was speaking, she'd say, yes, there's life after Hopkins. And Lydiana's in Lake Tahoe. Lydiana works in Palo Alto. In theory, she works in San Francisco. But, everyone's working remotely these days. I know from my son who's in New York that he said the traffic is increasing in New York, and the foot traffic and car traffic, that people are now beginning to come to work, particularly at at businesses, particularly the finance businesses. And there's B saying she's relaxing. That's quite a change. A Thursday at 12:18 to be relaxing. What a world. What will people think of next? So with that, I think maybe I'll end it there. We're posting a lot of stuff on CTisus, both the Facebook side and the content side. A lot of really good stuff coming up, a lot of really good new lectures we're developing. And my interview with Patrick Collison from Stripe last week, they're looking at that interview now, his team in California. And once they approve it, and I'm sure they will because there was nothing, they had watched it live, so they thought it was great. We'll post it, and those of you who missed it can hear it, and those of you who want to hear it again can hear it again. So with that, I thank everybody for their attention, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week.